welcome back, everybody, to CBG's podcast, The Supply Chain of Thought. I am the business director at China Performance Group. And today we are doing something a little bit different. We're not doing a deep dive into sourcing and supply chain management. Today we're going to be diving into the world of entrepreneurship and specifically what it takes to build a physical product brand from the ground up or maybe even from a kitchen. So in honor of International Women's Day, we're especially excited to welcome the female founder of La Petite Creme, Cecile Largeau.
Hello.
Hello. And you have built a baby care brand from the ground up, inspired by a traditional French baby care routine. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I am really interested in learning more about the idea behind La Petite Creme. And I understand it's a journey that started with experimenting in your kitchen and then became a commercial product. And so I'm really curious to hear more about that journey, how you started it, why you started it, when you recognized the gap in the market, and that sort of thing.
Well, it came from like a lot of product. It came out of necessity and out of somebody pointing out that there was something that was missing on the market. So I am French, as you may have guessed from my accent. I have been in the US for 20 years and I called the US my home. But when I had my kid here in the US 12 years ago, I went to the pediatrician and the pediatrician kept mentioning that diaper rash was very prominent in kids here in the United States, and French babies seems to be immune from diaper rash by some magical thing. So she pointed it to me and I said, well, I don't know why it would be different. We just use our diapering lotion. And she was like, what's a diapering lotion? I said, well, it's a lotion that we use in France instead of baby wipes. So when you have a baby in France, they don't give you baby wipes at the hospital. They give you a bottle of lotion and they give you a bag of cotton pads and you apply the lotion to remove everything, when you have a dirty diaper. And that lotion leaves a barrier on the skin. And that barrier acts as your Vaseline or ointment or protective layer on the skin. And that's why French babies are not so prone to diaper rash. So move forward a couple of years. I had my second kid and I was experimenting in my kitchen to make my own diaper cream, like diaper lotion from France. And that became a success because we decided with a friend of mine to just go into market and to make it more available for American moms, because diaper rash can be very dramatic on families because babies are in such pain and parents go like through so many like different phases to try to cure that rash, that being ahead of it has been shown to show tremendous benefit to families around the country. So it started in the kitchen, mixing product after the kids went to bed. Did that for 5 years. And then after 5 years, it became too big to be a side hustle. So we opened a factory here in Miami where we're located. And we manufacture to this day in Miami and sell now nationwide and globally. So
it's fascinating. So I think I know about your product primarily in relation to packaging, because that's what we've helped you with a little bit in the past. And so the lotion itself is something that you designed in your kitchen originally?
Correct. So we do a lotion and we also have a diaper cream, like a balm that is like better as restoring the skin. And this one is also something that we design in the kitchen. So all the recipe, the formulation, all the approval. So we are certified organic. So we've got our USDA certification back in 2018. And we have been like FDA compliant and doing all the compliance on the American soil and using the American operation and execution. And we just got inspired by the recipe from France. So we're taking a little bit of the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, wonderful. Now, the lotion is I would think it's actually a more sustainable. Not only is it better for the skin, but since you're using cloth instead of these disposable wipes, I would think it's a more sustainable alternative in comparison to baby wipes, right?
It can be adapted to your sustainable lifestyle. So if
Mm-hmm.
you want to go a disposable route for convenience, you can use it on disposable cotton pads or even on dry wipes. Now, if you want to go washable, you can use it on a washcloth. You can use it on toilet paper, paper towel. The medium in which you apply it doesn't matter too much, but it does play in the sustainability because it matches with the way you implement sustainability in your own lifestyle. So we're not changing your way of doing it. We're just adapting an additional, more efficient layer of diapering into the way you live your life.
Right. It's an interesting approach and it's an important approach because everyone within their own home has their way of doing life and sort of being the most sustainable that they can be. I hope that most people are like this. I know in my own home and locally, we have these refill stores
Mm-hmm.
that are not as popular as I wish they would be, but you bring in your glass jars or you bring in your containers and you refill them with the products you're buying, and everything is cloth and you're staying away from paper. And so I love that this is an option and it can sort of be built into a more sustainable routine.
And from the get-go for us, we wanted to plug into the life of parents because parenthood is a very, especially when you have a newborn, you have a lot on your plate, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's not only the diaper, it's everything is brand new. And then the change in the sleeping pattern and the change in the mood and all of that. So
Right.
it's important for us to come in as an ease and an aid for the family dynamic and not come with a bunch of like, you have to be more sustainable. You have to do this
Yeah.
way. You have to. So we can plug in as an addition to a disposable routine. And then as
Mhm.
parents have more time to breathe and, get on top of like everything else that goes around the baby, then they can decide to increase on that, whether it's a sustainability, whether it's like like having the refill. So we have a refill bottle that goes into our regular size palm bottle
Mhm.
for everyday use. But we really want it works with closed diaper or with conventional diapers, because again, you cannot change everything at once. So you put it in, you use it the way you use it, and then you can implement everything around it, and not the other way around.
I love that you've said that because I'm not a parent, but I have lots of friends who are parents, and I know it is very hard. And there's so many people talking to you about what's best to do and what should be done. And there's so much pressure. And I love that we can remove that guilt and shame about any way of doing things, make the life easier, work within the existing lifestyle, or, in our business in China sourcing, we say we work within the existing framework, what's happening on the ground, and trying to improve what is instead of trying to overhaul everything at the same time.
And that element of guilt is very attached to like motherhood in
I
general.
imagine.
Like motherhood, it was a transformative time for
Hmm.
me, being away from my family and like my friend and my support
Hmm.
system. So I really, and that's one of the reasons why I built this company, is to be able to provide just a tidbit of support to women across the country who are facing a tremendous transformation in their life, both physically and emotionally, and like as part of society as well. So if we can just say, the diaper area, we got you covered. You just add a layer of
Right,
this,
right,
and that's the only thing you need. Drop the wipe, drop the 10 different products that marketing tells you
right,
have to take to do one layer of this, and you can move on to everything else in your life that is so much more important than our
right.
product, right? So and that guilt factor is something that I fight over every single day, because especially as
Right,
women, right, we tend to be loaded with it every place we go, everything we
right,
do.
right.
So
Wonderful. So how has your product, when you introduced it into the market, I think it was in 2012, was it?
correct, yeah.
How has the growth been? Was it slow growing? Was it a huge success? Are you selling throughout the United States now? Where are you and where do you hope to go?
Want expert insight on your supply chain? Schedule a free consultation with CPG Sourcing. CPG partners with companies across all industries importing from China. With over 46 years of sourcing expertise and a dedicated team on the ground, We help you secure high-quality products at the best price delivered on time. Visit cpgsourcing.com/book a call to see how we can strengthen your supply chain for resilience and sustainability. Mention Supply Chain of Thought when you reach out to receive 10 extra resource hours in your first month. That's cpgsourcing.com/book a call.
So we launched in 2010 as just a small batch in the kitchen that we tried to sell across, hand to like word of mouth around Miami to friends around. And then we started our Amazon store about a year later. And early on, Amazon started taking our product in wholesale. So they were buying the inventory, which was only limited to a certain amount of people back then. We were like manufacturer of the products. And from the very beginning, we positioned ourselves as being manufacturer and seller. But it's really important to me to this day that we manufacture the product ourselves because we want to be able to certify the quality of what we do. So myself, I go and I steer the pot every once in a while because I want to be connected to the goal that this product is. And then we started on the Amazon journey and we started attending baby events. So there is a series of babies event across the country called the Prego Expo. So we went and met with the parents and we had them, try the product on their hand and feel what it was. And 10 years ago, when you said, we're an alternative to baby wipes, people would look at you and be like, why would I replace my wipes? Well, today we say we're an alternative to baby wipes and people jump at us and say, okay, how do I replace those wipes? Because I know they're not as sustainable and they have some chemicals in there that you might not want to have on your babies. So we could see a shift in the market. And with that shift, our sales have been like consistently growing like higher and higher to the point that when COVID hit, everybody was looking, for like things that were alternative and maybe safer. And there was a little bit of shortage in toilet paper and wipes and things of that nature. So it was a perfect timing for us because owning the manufacturing, we never run out of product. We never depended on like outsourcing. We had everything done in-house at that point. So that's when we moved to our factory. And then last year we got into Whole Foods nationwide. So now we are distributing across, Whole Food all across the country. So that has given us another jump because the product has always been higher quality. As I said, we invested in the organic certification very early on. The first inspection that they did was in my kitchen where I was pointing at how we were doing things. But we knew the product has always been like the highest possible quality. But having the stamp of approval from Whole Food is just giving us a lot more credibility from the outside world and exposing people to us in areas that they would not necessarily see us because we were not installed before that. So it's going good. We're very excited for what this year is going to bring as well. So
that is wonderful. That's amazing. I wasn't aware that you were in Whole Foods, and you're right. It is just a platform that you help you spread awareness about your brand.
Exactly.
Super exciting. Okay. So it sounds like your timing was just perfect. I guess timing can never be perfect, but I feel like you started this before the demand really was increased. And so by the time there was a huge demand or more demand for it, you had time to perfect it and get it to be.
And it was very like I'm an IT engineer by training. That was my previous life before I became an entrepreneur. And it was important to me that the foundation were correct. So we've always did, we don't bite more than what we can chew. So we made one batch, we sold that one batch, made a bigger one, sold that, and never really went further than what every step could lead us to. So we made the production very solid, very, very sustainable, very repetitive, very predictable. And then we went on into like advertise for it. So we always go like by levels and not try to rush into going big in 1 week and just explode, under the pressure. So it's just my personal way of doing things that make it last the long time, because we've seen other businesses around us over that time frame, and unfortunately a lot of them like go very fast from the get-go, but then they crumble just as fast. So for me, it's more about the long run than just short-term results, right?
Of course, yeah. I am not an entrepreneur myself, and our business is quite different, as you know, but I do often, when speaking with our clients, we talk about building a stable, scalable foundation. You want to get things right from the start. If you choose the wrong manufacturer, the wrong materials from the very beginning, you cannot grow. And it's a house of cards that,
Yeah.
as soon as you start to grow, it all crumbles. And so that is a really smart approach. Now, as a business owner, a founder, it sounds like you've had a really great, slow, steady ride. Has there been any, what surprises have there been? Have there been some challenges or unfortunate surprises, or has it been all things that you expected?
Of course not. Like everything it's challenges and surprises. And of course, it's not where you expect them, because you put your attention on something so you know what to anticipate. And the, other thing hits you at where your blind spot was, right? So I feel like what I did not anticipate as much was the cost of making mistakes. Mm-hmm. So everything in life, the first time you do something, it's really fantastic from the first time around. So back on that approach of like doing little things at a time, it's when you fail at something because you do pick the wrong packaging, or you do pick the wrong provider, or you pick the wrong idea sometime, or mm-hmm. you're like, this thing is going to be great, and you go on the wrong path. Mm-hmm. It's good that you don't invest too much into each direction, because every so often something is not going to work, and you need to be able to have other avenues to bounce back, right? So it's the cost of learning, especially for finding good partners, has been higher than what I had anticipated. Again, being an engineer, I know that things break, like physical things break. I think I had underestimated the power of like relationship, mm-hmm. and how sometimes you invest into relationship with partners where they could be in not so much in the manufacturing side of things. We've been lucky on that, but on some of the service area of like the marketing, and then the advertising, and then some of those places where you trust people and you don't get the type of result that you had anticipated, because unlike physical concrete stuff, it's very hard to measure things that are a little more subjective, right? The quality of a design, or the quality of an idea or a thought, or like a positioning or thing like that. So we got burned a couple of times by having high hopes, by picking, a certain partner that didn't deliver to the aspect that we would have hoped. And that has been challenging. And it hurts your ego, right? It hurts your soul too, because you're here making a product and you have a baby and you're really like, you love what you're doing, and seeing that sometimes people don't have the same care for what you do, and feeling like you're failing your own project is, it's difficult to go through. But with time, what has been paying off is the consistency and the work. It's not magical.
It's true.
I hear a lot of entrepreneur story that say, oh yeah, it happened to me overnight. Yeah, but for most people, it does not, right? So my story is not as exciting and glamorous, and it's not like I woke up this morning and everything caught on fire. No, I worked every single day, and I woke up every single day for now 11 years, right. Come to the office, and I stir that pot for 10 years straight. Every single one bottle I was making myself. This is a lot of work.
Of course. And
a tremendous amount of work.
and I think it's so accurate that you hear of those overnight success stories, and the reality is that it took 10, 15 years, and you don't hear about that part of it. And it's also accurate that business is about people. And you mentioned how difficult it is, these intangible aspects of design, and how people with differing viewpoints, say, for example, you have a vision, someone else has a vision, you write it down or draw a picture, and it could be completely different, even though you thought you had the same idea. And so it is the relationships and people. Have you found that post-COVID, it seems like it has opened doors because people are they're wanting to meet in person, and events have probably been good for you where you can see moms in person again. And I think that there's this craving for interaction more so now than before.
A lot more. And I think from the customer standpoint, this is one of the things where also being a mother or a young parent is very isolating. So it's a moment of life where you are craving connection because you sometimes feel like you're remote from your friends group if they're not, in the same season as you are, or even from your family where you may not share the same values. And now having a child, you're like, oh, I don't really want to be in this environment. So yes, parents are a lot more willing to talk to brands that they trust or to like other parents this way. I found that with providers, our timing was that we got the keys to our factory the day of the COVID lockdown. So here I was, everything was in my house. My husband was like, you have to get out of here. It's taking over the kitchen. It's taking over the living room. It's taking over the guest bedroom, everything. You have to get out of the house. I got the key. And then the next day they were like, lockdown, you're not moving. And I was like, damn it.
Oh my, wow.
Let me go. So, so that was a challenge, but I don't have the entire company switch when it went from being at home to being in a factory. So I don't have a lot of like experience prior to COVID for the size that I was after COVID, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So I cannot really compare because the timing for me was the before and after were tremendous because the company has completely shifted. That's when I quit my job to go full time into this. So the comparables are not there for me.
As a way, as you mentioned COVID previously, because there was shortages of certain items, toilet paper, etc. So big picture viewpoint, perhaps it was serendipitous timing, your move to the manufacturing facility at that time. I'm sure it was difficult, the same day as lockdown. You can't, that's something that you can't even imagine, right? In the exact same day. But once people got tested and are wearing their masks, I imagine you could proceed with business production as usual.
Yeah. So that's the thing, because we were an essential business, because we were manufacturing, it was not a problem. The staff could come, we could have everybody, coming. And we even had friends who were very happy to just come and manufacture with us to kind of because some of their jobs were not available to, for them. So, it was in hindsight, very beneficial for the business at that time. And, there was no other way. I mean, I'm the kind of person who just goes through difficult times. I'm not, shy away from it. Yeah. So it was this way anyway. So we, again, work and you come again and you come again and you're consistent. And eventually it becomes in your rear mirror and you're like, yeah, I went through that. What next is not as scary, right? Yeah. You build up your strength and your confidence in that environment. Because of course, as a woman, you have that feeling of being an imposter most of the time until you build up enough strength to say that you deserve to be where you are and to have the success that you get. But every step, every hard time, every difficulty build up to be the business owner that you're supposed to be and the business leader that you're supposed to be as well.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's become cliche. People say it so much, but every challenge is an opportunity. It is just so true. And at CPG, we also have this mindset that there are no mistakes. As long as you learn from them, you learn and you grow.
We have a thing here at La Petite Creme where when somebody makes a mistake or anybody does something that was not part of the plan, they have to pitch it's also one of the things that's different between the French culture and the American culture. Mm-hmm. It's like the American culture tends to value failure or at least the lack of progress. Because I see failure as like a stop in your progression, right? Mm-hmm. You'd never really step backwards when you fail. You just stop moving forward. Mm-hmm. So you fall, you pick yourself up, and then it might slow you down in your progression, or it might divert where you were going in the first place. But there is nothing wrong come an opportunity to reassess, okay, why did I fail and how can I make it better? We have a thing here as La Petite Creme where every time you make a oopsie or you make a mistake, you have to contribute to a chocolate pot where we have bars of chocolate that everybody eat chocolate here a lot. So you have to contribute a bar to the pot. So as a company culture, everybody encourage others to make mistakes, or at least we celebrate the mistakes because they are part of the growth, right? And it's the same thing in parenting. It's important to recognize that sometimes you have to fail to learn. That's the only way to figure it out, right?
And if you're not failing, maybe you're not trying hard enough or you're not doing something different. We try to embrace that also. We have this whole lessons learned process that we go through. Perhaps we should adopt the chocolate bowl.
That's a good one.
Because I think that you mentioned before the imposter syndrome. And I think as I've gotten older and spoken to different, entrepreneurs and executives, it seems to be part of the human condition, male and female. And it's not that at my age now, it's not that I think I'm great or perfect or anything. I just am very comfortable with mistakes and failure now, knowing that I will learn from them. And so it does help get over that imposter syndrome because we all failure can be opportunities and it can be a chance to pivot. Like you said, pause, go in a different direction. We've certainly had to do that in the past couple of years with what's happening in the world, and
everything. Yeah. And you can't control. So I think also being able to say, okay, if something hit me, because
of course
things are going to happen, right? There is what we control. There is what we don't, but saying that, okay, I have the right set of people around me and I have the inner resources to just be able to look at it and continue on my journey. And it's not going to have me step back. The time that yesterday is gone. So I'm not going to, throw me back 10 years, even sometime you would like that, but it's not. So, okay, it's just part of the journey. So how do I take that into my world and now become my reality and move on from it, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's painful. I'm not saying it's, but painful, you build upon it and you say, okay, at least this, I know I can go through. Like if something comes, I can refer to, I had something harder that came to me before. So at least I know I can go over that mountain now that it's coming to me.
Thinking of switching suppliers? Let us review your options. We offer free benchmarking for all our podcast listeners. With a network of thousands of suppliers, why not see if you can get a better quality product at a lower price? Go to cpgsourcing.com/book a call to see how you can optimize your supply chain today. That's cpgsourcing.com/book a call.
Right. And speaking of sort of mountains and, what is the next step and where is La Petite Creme going? It seems like now that you're in Whole Foods, it seems like you're on this major growth trajectory and you might have to increase your manufacturing.
We are. Yeah. So last year we started the year with 2.5 people. Right now, this week we're going to be 10. So we are really growing very, very fast. I tend to be really cautious about still going gradually, even if it's accelerated. I can't tell you too much about it, but we are to 2026 is going to be a good year for us as far as we have new things coming and new avenues. So we're trying to make sure that the people who use our product, who love our product, because again, we are in their life offering peace of mind, which is the most important thing to me to provide parents, moms in particular. We want to have that peace of mind, not only with their babies, but with everybody they care for, whether it's themselves or other people in the house. So that's what's coming over for us this year. So you should see more of us in Whole Food, but also in other places. But stay tuned.
Very exciting. Very exciting. I guess since we are CPG, I'm curious if you have anything to share about sourcing from China, your experiences, what shocked you, and any comments about that experience at all?
Yeah, well, first of all, for the longest time, we did not source outside the United States. So we started very small by buying surplus from different companies. And that's how we made our original packaging. It was like, what's available?
Right.
We take what's available. We bought a couple of boxes of it, and then we managed to run out of every single surplus from every single provider. So that's when we had to like make sure we had a steady input and sourcing of the packaging. And that's when we reached out to you guys to get help in that area, to make sure we had a trusted partner that could play a link, you know, with a culture and a language and a skill set that we didn't own, right? Also, one of the reasons why we went overseas, because we are a very proud American company. Yes, our influence is from Europe, but it's key to me that we make the American economy work. So we tried so hard to get sourced here in the United States, because what we're getting is like plastic bottles, plastic jars, plastic cap. There is no reason why there is no specialty in China, in our case, to get those things. But being a small business, we were too big to go with small size sourcing, but we were too small to be able to go to a huge manufacturer here, which would have, you know, so that in between thing kind of pushed us to go overseas.
Right.
And I think it's important for consumer to understand that, you know, with everything that went on last year about like making the US, made in USA. And I saw so many small business owners that were criticized from not doing it here in the United States. We tried so hard to stay within the US. We're just not big enough to have the power to do that, because everybody wants to do it here. I think generally speaking, a lot of companies, especially small business, would prefer to have their community and the local economy to work.
Right.
But we can't compete with like somebody who come and ask 250,000 units a year, and I'm here, I'm like, I want 20,000. Like, how can we, you know, be? So that was a first step for us that took me some time to accept that I would have to step away from my everything made in America to go overseas. And I had to grieve a little bit of that to say, okay, I'm going to be able to grow. So at least one day I'll be able to go back into hopefully, you know, sourcing huge volumes in the United States. As far as the experience of doing it overseas, I have to give credit to CPG for making this process very understandable for a company our size, because all we had to do is focus on what we needed and not how it would be done. So we had enough history for doing the thing ourselves that I think we were able to provide clear guideline. We cut a lot of time into what was needed for you to understand our need down the road. So I think that was something that we were lucky to be able to bring to the table, because we had specification of every single bottle, every single color, everything, because we had done it, you know, by ourselves for a long time. So we could measure our bottles. We knew what exactly was working, was not working, and we could make the improvement. And now it's a process that is just taking slightly longer as far as when you decide, oh, wow, I'm running out of bottles, and the time the bottles gets here, we have to still learn how to manage that time. And because, as you said, we're in a growth spurt, we used to order once a year. Last year was twice. This year, I don't really know if we may have to do like multiple orders back to back just to be able to be ahead without having too much where this is cash that would be, you know, like sitting here, and it's not capital that is working to actually make more of the product, right? Or like advertise for it or like market it. So that sense of going overseas, and you know what, the cost is not that different. I was surprised at first. I was expecting, we'll go, you know, overseas is going to be so much cheaper. But by the time you add the shipping, the tariffs, of course, which is always a gamble, and it's, you know, it's part of the economy now. So we just have to, you know, hope for the best. But the shipping, and at least again, because we don't have the volume just yet to have something that is steady, the cost is not so much cheaper than it would be to doing it here or the way we were doing it before with smaller quantities. At least. I don't know if that's the kind of experience you have from other of your clients, but that's one of the things that surprised me that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, a couple of things you've said I think would really resonate with a lot of people. And the first being your first comment about wanting to produce everything in the United States and realizing how challenging that would be. And that is our mindset also. If a company can produce everything locally, we absolutely support that. That is great. For a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that are starting up, it's not feasible in that stage of development. You're either too small or too big, like you mentioned. At the same time, the cost to develop that foundation, and I would say you're still kind of in the foundational stage. You do have the suppliers there, but in terms of the volume, China makes sense, starts to make much more sense when you have more volumes and you're getting the cost savings on those larger orders. The setting up, the establishing of the foundation and all the work that goes into vetting that, it is an investment. And hopefully for you and for most companies, it is an investment in a stable foundation, scalable foundation in China that you may or may not stick with long term. But I hear what you're saying, especially with the tariffs. Now, of course, this is another thing that has been changing daily practically. It might be better for you now this year. The Supreme Court just recently ruled that the tariffs from last year were illegal.
Do you know, like, let me ask you that, maybe I'll put you on the spot, but when there is a point where they would hopefully say, okay, it was illegal, but now we're going to start giving back to companies, is that something that CPG is planning to help us through that process? Or is it something that you see being the government directly with the provider, like with the companies? Or is it, what do you foresee? I'm sure you guys had those conversations internally, and I'm not the first one asking, but I'm just curious to what you would recommend to companies like us to do with that piece of information, because it's great to hear it's illegal. What I care about is like, where's my money?
Exactly. It's so new that we have talked about it, but my understanding is that it would be payments from the US government to business owners. And I imagine it will take, unfortunately, a long time to process those payments. Now, what happened on the China side of things is different for each company. So some companies that were buying from China, if a company was already paying costs that were higher than the company's lowest price, then some suppliers absorbed half of them. It depends on what the business owners do. Really, it was a tax by the US government really on your business. So I think on our side of things, all we can really do is help renegotiate with suppliers for first costs. Again, that is our role, and that was our role then during the tariffs and now. But just going back to the suppliers and seeing what can be done with this the new tariffs. But the new tariffs are only, I think it's 90 days that we have.
So we'll see.
Once I have more information on that, I will be happy to share. But again, it's not really, it's sort of beyond us. It is, again, I think the US government too.
But I'm thinking more, not as far as like finding a resolution, but also informing us because you will be, I think, a lot more aware of it because it touches a lot of your business. And I think you would be part of the people that would look at for true factual information instead of me trying to grab pieces and bits, left and right. So as far as like just communicating to people like me about this is what has been decided, this is where you need to go if you want to, ask for something, or kind of giving us a wider perspective on what we can go after, what would be the process and all of that stuff. I think that would be very valuable because the relationship we have with you is a lot different than the one I have with Google or ChatGPT, right?
Yeah. It's an interesting topic. I think perhaps we should publish a blog on it. Historically, so far what we've done, because our companies, our clients are across every industry and they're in all parts of the world. And so for us, it's a very case by case basis, very meticulous, time consuming process of looking up the tariff code for every single item, depending on where shipping from China to Brazil or Europe or US. And that is how we've navigated it. But it would be, I think that's a good idea for a blog or another podcast. What's next for businesses in the US? What approach should they take? This just happened last week, so it's not something that we've delved into, but I think that would be helpful. So stay tuned.
Checked.
Yeah. Cecile, anything else you want to share with us about? I know you said that there's big things coming, exciting things happening in 2026, but some of it you can't quite share yet. Are you going to be attending any upcoming trade shows that you want to talk about? Or anything else?
From the baby and parent standpoint, so if anybody who is watching and listening, if you are pregnant or planning to be pregnant, or if you just had a baby, we're going to be at the Prego Expo in New York City in March. We're going to be at the one in Orlando in April, and then we'll also be in Dallas in August and in LA in November of 2026.
Wow.
We are also attending the ABC Kids Expo, which is the biggest juvenile and baby professional conference in Las Vegas in May. So we are hitting the pavement. We are going there, and I'm being accompanied with the pediatrician who was the one who kept mentioning that French babies had beautiful glowing bumps. She's now part of the company. She has joined me a couple of years ago. She was a firm believer in the business. And so we're now going hand in hand in meeting customers and retail stores and partners across the industry to try to bring goodness and French flair to all of the skin around the country.
Wonderful. That is a busy schedule. I will make note of those shows and we can put them in the show notes and share them. That's exciting. A lot of travel. Now, do your kids join you on the road?
Well, this year I'm going to try to take them to the Orlando one close to here because they want to start selling. They've been hearing so much, like they were the power behind this brand, and they've seen me like packing it, creating it, filling the bottles. They hear about it day and night at home. So they're going to be the best salespeople for us. If you come to Orlando, you'll probably have my kid trying to convince you very well to buy some butt cream.
How old are your children? That's amazing.
They're 11 and 13.
Okay. So, yeah. So
I often compare their growth to my journey as an entrepreneur. Yeah. So I feel like when you have a baby between 0 and 5 years old, it's a lot of like changing diaper, being like very nurturing to them and being there to do everything. And then I had the same for my business. 5 to 10 is more like they start to be a little more independent. And now I'm hitting the preteen phase where my company wants to go and do its own thing. And I'm part of me is like just watching to see where it's going. And it's a very nice parallel with kids as well. So it's a nice place to admire the growth, right?
Yeah. And it's great that they can help you on the journey and be part of it too. So that's really exciting. So thank you so much, Cecile, for joining us today in honor of International Women's Day that's coming up next week. Cecile Largeau. Largeau. Yeah. That is a really good way to say it. Okay. And your company, La Petite Creme, is lapetitecreme.com.
Yes.
You're on the social media sites. We will put your website and the show Prego Expo in the notes. And stay tuned. Thank you again. It was a pleasure chatting and catching up with you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Shout out to our friends at KickFurther, the best way to get funding for 100% of your inventory without taking on debt or giving up equity. KickFurther puts you in control of your business, eliminates stockouts, keep up with demand, and move into growth mode. Visit kickfurther.com today.